Welcome
to Colorado Springs. Situated at the base of Pikes Peak, Colorado Springs is one of the most talked about relocation cities in the Mountain West. Families from California, Texas, and Florida are moving their families out here in search of more space, freedom, and a better quality of life. But here's the thing, for some of you, this is gonna be the best decision you ever make. And for others, it's gonna be a major letdown.
In this beginner's guide, we're gonna show you what it's actually like to live here, the layout of the city, the lifestyle that people fall in love with, the surprises that nobody tells you about, and what to watch out for before you commit.
With just over 500,000 people, Colorado Springs still feels big enough to offer opportunity, but small enough that the mountains still feel like they belong to you.
Whether you're moving for the military, remote work, or just looking for something better, this video is where you start.
All right, as much as you guys want to get out and see Colorado Springs and we want to show it to you, we got to understand the map. We have to know where we are. Otherwise, the rest of the video is just going to be a blur and it won't make any sense to you. So first off, here is the beautiful state of Colorado. Just a big old square. It's the easiest state to draw. Right in the center of Colorado, you have Denver up here to the north and about 35 minutes south, Colorado Springs. What connects them is I-25. That's the major highway that runs all the way from Wyoming, takes you all the way down to New Mexico. And there is something that runs alongside of it. It is called the Front Range. You will hear the term Front Range all the time. The Front Range is literally what it sounds like. It is the mountain range. It's the Rocky Mountains running north to south, and it's the furthest east that they run. And that is where the beautiful Pikes Peak is that we were talking about in the intro. The real way to understand Colorado Springs is to be able to break it up in your brain. This is not going to make sense at first, but if you download our relocation guide, it's linked in the description below, you will be able to start to see from the key some of these major areas. This is really how you break it up and start to understand what is going to fit for my family and what doesn't. And I think that when you're starting to look for where you're going to live, one of the things that is most helpful that people forget about is if I can just eliminate a whole bunch, then it gives me a lot of clarity. And so I can focus in, because Colorado Springs is actually pretty big overall. Now, something important to mention about Colorado Springs is Monument is not the Springs. Peyton is not the Springs. Manitou and Fountain are also not. But generally speaking, like if I tell somebody from Louisiana that I'm from Monument, Colorado, they're gonna have no idea what I'm talking about. So Colorado Springs is the major metropolitan area that encompasses all of these little outliers, even though they will be sure to tell you that they are not Colorado Springs. We break up Colorado Springs simply into 5 major areas: the west, northeast, south, and central. So on the west side of Colorado Springs, whenever somebody says, I wanna live on the west side, they're saying that they want to live in something very classic Colorado. Sometimes there's homes as old as like the late 1800s, but up here in the Rock Rimmon area, maybe the 60s, 70s, 80s. But the houses really feel like Colorado. They're in the trees. You're gonna have wildlife. You're gonna have deer, maybe some bears, maybe a mountain lion or two, hard telling, not knowing. Now, the northern side of Colorado Springs is more like Glen Eagle, which is consistently rated the #1 neighborhood in Colorado Springs, by the way, Northgate, Briargate, Black Forest. Now, when you think of the north side, right next to the Air Force Academy, this is more like your Lululemon is up there, your Apple store is up there, Scheels. If you don't know what Scheels is, welcome to Colorado. Cabela's. You know what? I know that saying Top Golf, that's really going to help you kind of understand what the area is up there. There's a lot of commercial development, but there's also a lot of very nice neighborhoods. Pushing 700,000 plus is very, very typical. Now, as we go to the east side of Colorado Springs, that can really encompass all the way out to like Falcon and like we were talking about Peyton, but you'll have areas like Banning Lewis Ranch right here. And then you'll have Stetson Hills, Cimarron Hills, Claremont Ranch. Now, for a little bit of perspective, this 21 is also called the Powers Corridor. This is Powers Boulevard north to south here. This actually used to be the eastern edge of Colorado Springs not too long ago, which is kind of crazy. But there you'll find things like Target, Lowe's, Dick's Sporting Goods, Costco, and just movie theaters, all kinds of places like that that are like the most essential necessities and amenities that people are always going to be going to. Those are right up and down this Powers Boulevard. Then right to the south, you have Colorado Springs Airport. Now, for the military people, this is like important for you guys to understand. You've got the Air Force Academy in the northwest. Colorado Springs Airport is co-located with Peterson Space Force Base. Then you have Schriever out here to the east, Fort Carson in the southwest, and then somebody works at Cheyenne Mountain, allegedly, but I've never met anybody that works there. So for Fort Carson, this is the south of Colorado Springs. It is really kind of everything south of Platte. And that's when you get into Strathmore, Security Widefield, and then down here to Fountain. A lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people, just based on the geography of Fort Carson, choose to live down in this area because of the commute times. From Fountain, I mean, we're talking like maybe a 15-minute commute. And then, of course, you have everything in the center of Colorado Springs, really centered on this big Palmer Park. And it's really just a hodgepodge. I mean, Colorado Springs has been growing and developing really to the east and to the northeast. So at some point, this was also the edge of town. And then finally, as we go west, you have Manitou Springs, which is, I mean, very much a mountain town. It is literally built into the mountainsides, tiny streets, tiny little homes. There's also some big homes, but it is very condensed into the mountain. And that's where you have the incline, which we're going to show you a little bit later. You have the access to Pikes Peak. You have the Cogs Railway. I mean, that is a really, really cool town. And then as you go down Highway 24, that's what really takes you to the rest of Colorado. But for the rest of Colorado Springs, let's go back outside so that you can see what makes this place so magical.
One thing we get asked all the time is, what's the general vibe here? I would characterize it as a little bit less chic and polished than Denver. Think a little bit less urban hip and more family-centric, space-driven, right? We're big on recreation, sports, and small business pride. Sitting at over 6,000 feet of elevation underneath the iconic Pikes Peak, we enjoy a warm, dry, sunny climate with 300 days of sunshine throughout the year. Here's the thing though, that elevation, it's great for performance training. It can really get you out of breath, but it can also lead to some extreme temperature swings, making it feel like all 4 seasons in one day.
Now, when we say Colorado Springs is for the adventure obsessed, we are, but there is something for everyone. Starting with the hiking, there are trails that are family friendly that you can take anybody on, all the way to giant 14,000 foot peaks. Now, if you're into mountain biking, you have trails that ride all around the city, including Palmer Park, where there's technical stuff, but even easy stuff. And bonus, we have a brand new park that is being built right now for you downhill crazy people. And of course, you can't talk about Colorado without talking about rock climbing. And you don't have to go far. Right in that North Cheyenne Canyon area, there's plenty of rock climbing. You can even do it in Garden of the Gods. And one of my favorite activities I've ever done in Colorado Springs, whitewater rafting. Now, we don't have it physically here in the Springs, but if you go just less than an hour south down to Canyon City, some of the most incredible whitewater rafting I've ever done in my life is down there. And this might come as a surprise, but there's also not skiing here, but we have easy access to skiing. Less than 2 hours away, you can get to Monarch or the Breckenridge area, which has multiple ski resorts. The thing is that you don't have to plan vacations anymore because living here is the vacation.
And for cultural events, there's way more than you think. We have Territory Days right here in OCC. That's an Old West Street Fest down here in the heart of Old Colorado City. We have Pikes Peak Hill Climb, the world famous race all the way up to top of Pikes Peak. Pikes Peak or Bust Rodeo, the classic, infamous rodeo that's been running for more than 150 years now in this city. Every first Friday of the month, all the local art galleries are going to open up their doors for live music and art viewing. And every year for Labor Day, we have the Labor Day Liftoff, hot air balloons, food trucks. What more could you want? This city loves its tradition, but doesn't take itself too seriously.
Now, a major problem with big cities is that they start to lose their sense of identity and community. But in Olympic City, USA, we don't really have that problem. You know, a lot of the city, nearly half of the city is transplants or military. And so people are always looking for more friends and more activities. Now, there's church networks, youth sports is a major part out here. School events are huge. There's a university here as well. There's semi-professional sports. There is a lot to do, and we're always trying to bring the community together. It's not LA or Denver. It's still a city where it's small enough that people are gonna wave at you when you walk by them on the street.
Now, strong educational opportunities are another really big draw for families families looking to move to the area, especially in D20, D38, and D12, which are some of the top ranked districts year in and year out by students and parents alike. Now, we don't have any major sports teams, but we do have multiple amateur pro teams here that we are super proud of, like the Switchbacks, who just won a championship last year. We're also not known for like our big music venues, but we have some fantastic venues that are smaller, where you feel a little more intimate, that are still attracting all the bigger acts in town. And we're not known as a foodie town, but that's been changing over the last few years. If you take a stroll downtown, you're gonna see that for yourself.
Now, these are the 5 must-see spots in Colorado Springs, starting off the bucket list with the world-famous Garden of the Gods. Now, these are towering sandstone spires that you can hike through, walk, e-bike, you can even climb with a permit, and if you're lucky, you might just see a herd of bighorn sheep. Pictures do not do this place justice, and I promise you, you will never get tired of showing this place off to your friends and family.
This isn't just a mountain, this is a playground. You can drive, hike, bike, run your way all the way up to 14,115 feet. Where else in the country can you do that? This mountain is iconic for locals and a huge flex for visitors. You only need to summit once, but you're gonna be back every time that someone comes to visit you. You will lose your breath, but you can just blame the altitude. What do you get when you have a zoo on a mountain? You get unbeatable views and giraffe feeding. This zoo has everything that the country's premier zoos have, just all at 7,000 feet. And this one isn't just for the kids. The view from the sky right in the zoo is ridiculous.
Now, this one is not for the faint of heart. This strikes fear into everybody that looks at it. This is the Manitou Incline, 2,768 steps to the top. It is the Rocky Mountain Stairway to Heaven, and it's actually the start of the trail to get to Pikes Peak, but you don't have to do that. You just make it to the top, take a little break, and then come back down the bar trail. This is also how you get to the Cog Railway, by the way, if you want to just take a train all the way to the top. Be advised, it is way harder than it looks, but you don't have to do it for time. I did this with my mom, and it was super awesome. We just took our time, had plenty of water and snacks, and it was a phenomenal bonding experience.
North Cheyenne Canyon. Imagine legit trails 10 minutes from almost anywhere in the city. This place is crazy. There's waterfall access, picnic spots, connections to larger trails that are huge and run all over the city. This is where the locals go when they want some solitude without having to drive hours into the mountains.
Now, some of the biggest misconceptions in Colorado Springs is about the weather. They think that it's just going to be totally cold all year round, but typically it is 70 and sunny. We have over 300 days of summer here, but something a lot of people don't consider is that over the summer we have this monsoon season where it's beautiful during the day and then afternoon thunderstorms, which we're trying to beat right now.
Another one that catches people off guard is the constant construction. It still frustrates me to no end. There's always some new road going in, some expanding infrastructure, some new neighborhood, and it will at some point affect your commute and your sanity.
Don't be surprised by what you see on the map, because things are going to look a lot closer than they actually are. And surprisingly, Colorado Springs actually has a pretty poor walkability score. There's only a few areas in town that you can just walk everywhere. Even in the downtown area, it kind of is split up. You kind of have the north end and the south end of the downtown area, and then you're going to have to get in a car to go to places like Old Colorado City. That is actually kind of a pain point for a lot of people. Now, while Colorado Springs is actually known for having a lot of health services here, it's actually a little bit harder to find good specialized healthcare, and you might have to go up to Denver to get really specific care. Now, one of my favorite things about Colorado Springs is actually the amount of wildlife encounters that you will have. Colorado is kind of like this giant safari. No matter where you go, you're gonna see deer, elk, moose, bear, mountain lions, lynx, bobcat, everything. But in Colorado Springs proper, you really only have high chances of seeing mule deer, maybe some bobcats, maybe a little bit of coyotes, and if you're really unlucky, some black bears or some mountain lions. But honestly, it kind of depends on where you are in the city. A lot of people ask about this. They're very, very concerned. A lot of that wildlife encounter really kind of only happens on the west side of the city. As you get further and further east, past I-25 and past Palmer Park, those wildlife encounters definitely go down, unfortunately.
Now, the final thing that really catches people off guard is going to be the cost of living and the cost of utilities here. you're going to have a cheaper home than you're going to have in California, but don't expect Colorado Springs to be cheap per se, right? The home prices have gone up here in recent years. Our tax basis actually hasn't changed, but because the home prices have gone up so far, the property taxes have gone up quite a bit. Things like your insurance are going to be quite a bit different here because of all the hail events that we have, and because fires happen up in the mountains. Nothing's ever really happened in the city. Your insurance is going to be significantly different here than it is in other parts of the country. And also, this elevation, this climate, although it is warm and dry and pretty mild most of the year, because of those big temperature swings that we mentioned earlier on, your utility costs are also going to be a bit different than they're going to be anywhere else in the country. Now, in this economy, and I understand it, that seems to be people's main concern, is the cost of living. So make sure that you hit subscribe and you hit the notification bell, because the next video in this series, we're going to cover everything that you need to know about the cost of living.